you guys, welcome back to K&K's Inspired Creations with Latara. So today I'm going to show you guys how I made this absolutely adorable cake made out of yarn for Easter. So I started off by grabbing some foam rounds that you could find at Dollar Tree. I took 4 of them and I glued them all together using hot glue. Then I grabbed some yarn, also found at Dollar Tree, and used some hot glue, adhered the yarn to the top, and then just started wrapping the entire piece with the yarn. And honestly, that's the main thing that you're going to do with this, because you want to wrap the entire thing so that none of the white foam is showing. Now, one thing you can do is maybe paint the entire thing purple or whatever color the yarn is that you have. That way, if you make a mistake or if there's like a gap, you won't be able to tell because it's purple. Because I didn't paint mine a different color and mine is still white, I have to make sure that the entire thing is covered completely, which is absolutely fine because, like I said, I did get this yarn from Dollar Tree. I think I paid $25 for one thing of yarn, and I believe it only took one whole thing of yarn to go around this entire cake. But you see what I'm doing. You can do it the way that I'm doing it. You can do it a different way, but the goal here is the same. It is to coat basically or cover the entire cake with the yarn. And while I'm doing that, I do want to take a moment to thank you so much for watching my videos. If this is your first time watching my videos, welcome. And if this is not your first time watching my videos, welcome back. I appreciate you so much. If you're not already subscribed to my channel and you like fake bakes and DIYs and all kinds of stuff like that, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Like the video, share, leave a comment. I love reading the comments. I don't get a lot of them, but I do love reading the comments. And I do want to just thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my video. I also want to shout out Bargain Bethany, because Bargain Bethany is where I got the inspiration for this particular project. She did one. I'm going to go ahead and add that video to my description so you can check her, what she created out as well. It looks a lot better than mine, because she was the original, and she also has tons of other Easter like ideas on there, so you should definitely watch the whole video. And so I am going to speed this up because I am going to be doing the same thing for a while, but I wanted to show you just how it started off. It doesn't take too long. Just like turn on a nice little movie and start wrapping, and before you know it, it'll be done. And so right here, I'm literally just cleaning up like where I can see where there's gaps, basically, where I can still see the white foam. That's what I'm doing right now. So that's why I said that you can definitely paint the whole thing one color or the same color as the yarn, so that you don't have to go back necessarily and fill in the gaps completely. But like I said, mine was white foam and I didn't paint it, so I had to go back and completely cover it. And to me, it kind of made my cake a little messy looking because everything was kind of uniform, all going in the same direction. But because I had to go ahead and cover up different spots, it kind of made it messy, in my opinion at least. And so now I'm using some white yarn as well. And this is going to be mainly like the border, the embellishments, the icing and stuff for the cake. So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make it thicker. So I took some, cut it down to like 3 pieces down to a certain length, and then I hot glued it to this paper so that I could braid it basically. And I'm going to fast forward through me basically braiding this because I know most people know how to braid. And I definitely braided more than enough because more is better than less. And so now I'm just taking that braided piece and trying to figure out where I want to put it. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and glue it to the top of the cake, and that's going to be the icing for the top of the cake. And so I'm just using some hot glue to make sure that it doesn't come apart, because that would suck, right? Doing all that and then it comes apart. And so before using that piece, I grabbed another piece of yarn, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of do like, I don't know if you see on cakes where it kind of does that little swoop thingy. I don't know if that makes sense, the icing or whatever. And so that's what I wanted to do around the sides of the cake first before adhering the icing to the top. That way, if I needed to like overlap it, I wanted to overlap it from the top instead of overlapping the top with the sides, if that makes sense. So that's all I'm doing, just using a hot gun, my glue gun, and just adhering it to the sides of the cake. And it worked out well. You definitely want to make sure that the glue is like adhered, make sure it's dry before you move on to the next piece, because you could potentially accidentally pull the piece that you were just working on loose, and you don't want to do that, because this cake is actually already pretty tedious, if you can tell already. I think it took me a couple of hours to complete this cake, just because of the yarn, and you need to let it dry and just let it, all that good stuff. So definitely take your time and do it right the first time. That way you don't have to redo it. So like I said, that's how I did it. And so now I'm going over the very top of it, and I'm just going around the outer edge at the very top to do that first little border of icing that I was telling you about. And like I said before, you definitely want to just take your time making sure that the yarn adheres to the rest of the yarn and that the hot glue dries before moving on, because you don't want to accidentally pull up the parts that you've already done. And yeah. And so I'm going to go around a second time just to make it a little bit thicker of the icing, just a thicker, that one little line of yarn. It looked okay, but more than one will definitely look better. It'll look fuller, it'll look thicker, more like icing. And I believe I'm going to actually go around a third time as well. Yeah, just to make it, and also just to take up some space on the cake, because the middle is very open, and at the time I wasn't 100% sure what I was planning on doing with the middle of the cake. So I figured 3 layers of this would probably be really good looking. And so now I'm gonna do the bottom. So you know how the bottom usually has like a layer, not a layer, but like the outer edge, it has like a border of icing as well on the bottom. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm starting off by just doing one, layer wrapped around the entire cake. And then I'm going to turn it over, and then I'm going to finish this on that parchment paper you see underneath. That way I can make the icing kind of go outward, if that makes sense. Instead of like on the top, I had the icing going inward. But a lot of times when you look at a cake, the outer edge is the icing on the bottom, the border is usually wider than the cake, if that makes sense. So on the parchment paper, because hot glue it adheres to it, but it's not permanent, I can go around and just kind of glue the yarn to itself, but then also to the parchment paper. And that way I can make the border on the bottom kind of go outwards, kind of stand out a little bit more, so like icing on an actual cake. I hope that makes sense. I know you can see what I'm doing, but I just hope that makes sense. And then I'm just going to keep doing this and keep going around and around until I get it to the thickness to where I'm satisfied. And that's pretty much what you can do as well. You don't have to use white, I use purple and white because, I like purple, and a lot of icing is white. A lot of times it's very simple, very easy. But you definitely don't have to use purple. You definitely don't have to use white as the icing or anything like that. This is kind of your project, so you can do it, whatever colors you want. You can make the border as thick as you want. You see that I have it going up a little bit, up the cake a little bit, just to make the icing look thicker at that part. And so these little balls I ended up getting out of the crafting section of Dollar Tree. They're just like these little puffy balls. They're orange and kind of like carrots. I was thinking carrots when I did that. So I'm just taking these and kind of like little dollops on the cake, and I'm just hot gluing it to the icing or the yarn that's supposed to be icing that's on the cake, just to give it a little bit of embellishments. And then I decided it'd be cute to do the exact same thing on the bottom. And I'm pretty much just lining it up with the little puff balls on the top so that it could look uniform, if that makes sense. But it's definitely coming together. It's cute. I like the purple with the white and the orange. To me, those make me think of like Easter colors. And then right here, I just wanted to do a second little layer of the little swoops that I did on the sides of the cake, because the cake was kind of looking bare on the sides, and I couldn't really think of what I could possibly do to kind of embellish the sides. So I pretty much just did that. I just doubled up some of them. I think I skipped every other one and doubled up that instead of doing every single one, just to make it look a little different. And then the last thing I did, I just took a whole bunch of yarn and just put it into like a circle. And that was just like my icing for the top of the cake, like a little dollop of icing. And then I took this little green rabbit that I also found from Dollar Tree and just put that on top. And, you know, I felt like that, you know, that worked. That was cute. So this is the final review. Let me know what you think, or if you're going to make one for yourself. Thank you so much again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and I will definitely see you next time.